Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Start in just a minute or two, inshallah. Oh, wow, Hassan is here too. MashaAllah. Hello, Hassan. Fareed, good to see you. MashaAllah. Ah. All right. Oh. So, Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good to see some of you, either on the video or on the participants list. Just want to kind of pick up off of where we went to, where we kind of began last week, talking about preparing for Ramadan and giving it kind of the attention that it deserves and thinking about it in that way. And just want to make probably a couple points today. Hopefully it won't take too long. The main idea behind it is to say that, you know, when we engage with any sort of thing, there are always like the roots, there's the trunk of the tree and there's the branches of the tree, right? So there's always the trunk and there's always the branches. And in whatever situation we're dealing with, whether it's family, an act of worship, a time of the month, whatever it might be in terms of a time of the year, then Fridays, all these different things that have some sort of specialness to them. In relation to them, there are the things that are really important, and then there's the things that kind of come on the side. So when we look at the month of Ramadan, there are a couple of things that are kind of really important in the month of Ramadan. And I want to put emphasis on those and then make a comment about how we engage with them or how we deal with them. So what are those things? The first of them obviously is fasting. The second one is the Quran. And the third is charity. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم. That the month of Ramadan is the month wherein the Quran was revealed as a guidance and a clarification to the people. And whoever witnesses the month, then let them fast. So this mentions those two, mentions the fasting and the Quran. And that, as we, I think, said before, that really, you know, the fasting is part of the celebration of the Quran being revealed. in the month. So we have the Quran, we have fasting. We also have this hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that says that he was the most generous of people, and the most generous time for him was in the month of Ramadan, when Sayyidina Jibril alayhi salam would come to him and review the Quran with him. So we have kind of these three things working together, that when we're trying to ground ourselves and figure out what we're about and orient ourselves to worshiping God and living our lives in submission to God, then the Quran is the guidance in that realm. And the fasting is kind of like a technique that helps us to develop that, also to nurture that awareness of God that we're developing through our interaction with the Quran. And then one of the consequences of that, one of the primary consequences of that, is our being charitable, giving to others, how much we're able to give to others. So the Quran is the guidance, it's the foundation, it's the guidance. And the fasting is the practice. And along with fasting, of course, and especially in Ramadan, comes prayer. So the increased prayer and the increased fasting that comes along with the engagement with the Quran, it bears its fruit in different areas. And one of those main areas would be in our charity. And the Prophet ﷺ taught us that charity is not limited to the money that we give, but it's very much it's very much connected to kind of like the spirit of charity, which is this open-heartedness, a willingness to give to others, whether that's from our wealth or from our time or from ourself. Like we're taught that smiling is charity. That's a giving from ourself at some level, right? To remove some harm from the road is charity. To help someone on their animal to open their door is charity. So all of these things are a giving from oneself for the betterment of others. So we have these three major foundations. So as we go into the month, I think it's important to think about these things and decide for ourselves what kind of engagement we're going to have with those things. And this is where the other point that I want to make today kind of ties in, which is that oftentimes when we think about these things, we have to be very careful, because we want to plan and we want to set some sort of goals. And that's necessary at some level. Like the planning and the goal setting is necessary. I want to read so much Quran. I want to fast during these days, or maybe for some of the kids, like I want to do this many half days, or I want to do this many full days, or depending on what their situation is. I wanted to have this kind of relationship with the Quran. But through it all, we have to remind ourselves, and especially in the circumstances that we're in right now, we have to remind ourselves that all of those things that we're doing in Ramadan, the ultimate goal of all of those things that we're doing in Ramadan is God. So the ultimate goal of the Quran is God. The ultimate goal of the fasting is God. The ultimate goal of the charity is God. It's not any of those particular means. And why that's important is because, especially when things are kind of different, let's just call them different, we make plans and they don't always come out the way that we wanted them to, right? And I know I can say this for myself for sure, and I'm sure other people have had similar experiences, where you go into Ramadan and you have certain things you want to do and you're not able to do them. Maybe I set goals that weren't really reasonable, or maybe things just came up that I wasn't able to complete it. And then I start to feel like really bad. We get into that guilt mode, which tends to be kind of like our default interaction with the religion, is guilt-based, which is very problematic. But we can save that tangent for another day. But we don't want it to be guilt-based. We want it to be, oh God, Ya Allah, this is what I'm coming into your month, and here's what I'm going to try to do. And my Lord, what my situation better than anyone else. All of the details of every single aspect of my situation, the finances and the family and the kids and the balancing and this and that and the food and all of these type of things. All of that more than I know, my Lord. And whatever I'm able to do, I'm grateful for it. And whatever I'm not able to do, I had a good intention for it, and I'm not going to like beat myself up about it and get really negative and guilty about it, and so on and so forth. I think that this is extremely important. We don't, we want to strike this balance of planning and making goals, but not worshiping those goals. We want to turn all of that over to God. And Ibn Ata'illah secondary rahimahullah, he said that there's two types of people. One of the people is the one who, and I don't know if I said this last week, but it still relates. One of the people is the one who wakes up in the morning and they say, what am I going to do today? Let's see what I'm going to do today. And the other person is the one who wakes up in the morning and says, let's see what God is going to do with me today. And it's not that the second person doesn't have any plans. It's just that they're recognizing that their plans were their job. And once they did their plans, now they put it in front of God. So I go into Ramadan and I say, oh Allah, this is your month. I'm going to try to do whatever I can. And I'm going to be merciful and gentle on myself, my Lord, as I'm going to you in this month. Because Allah, you know that I have finances to worry about, and I have jobs to worry about, and I have business to worry about, and maybe I have employees to worry about, and I have these kids who are at home trying to do schooling at home, and it's making me crazy, and I'm trying my best, but it's just not going, like, it's messy, and everyone understands that it's messy. And the one that understands that it's messy more than anyone else is Allah. And so, like, don't think that if I don't finish like XYZ thing, I'm a bad Muslim now and I didn't do what I was supposed to do in Ramadan and this was the worst Ramadan ever. No. Like Ibn Ata'illah also says, إِذَا فَتَحَ لَكَ وَجْهَةً مِنَ التَّعَرُّفِ فَلَا تُبَالِي فِيهِ إِنْ قَلَّ عَمَلُكَ. If he opens for you this means by which you can get to know him, if God opens for you this window by which you can get to know him, don't worry if your deeds are less. Don't worry if your deeds are less, because that wasn't the point. Oftentimes this wisdom is used in relation to illness. Like sometimes people might intend all kinds of things and an illness befalls them and they're not able to do those things. And this is kind of like a communal illness, right? Like our ability as a community to engage with Ramadan is affected by this illness that's affecting all kinds of people. And in that situation, we don't look at it like, oh, I have to do this, and I didn't get to do this, and so on and so forth. No, I just look at it like, this is me, and this is my Lord. And let the interaction be more intimate. Let the interaction be more loving. Let the interaction be more merciful. And just like, Allah, this is what I have, and please accept it. And if you come up short, just talk to Allah. Say, Allah, I really wanted to pray Taraweeh today, but like, I just can't. I'm too exhausted. It's 10 o'clock. The kids finally went to sleep. And I just can't like imagine standing and reading Quran right now. Allah, I'm sorry, but this is what I have. And, please accept for me my fasting. And like, that's okay. There's nothing, like, we don't have to get really negative about that. So, I think that as we go into Ramadan, let's try to hold those two things together. Try to hold the idea of, I'm going to try to do my best and I'm going to make plans and so on and so forth. And at the same time, I'm going to be a little bit flexible with them. And I'm going to know that God is generous and God is merciful and God is loving and God is caring and God is all of these beautiful things. And he's the one that's going to take us into this month, inshallah. And he's the one that's going to bring us out of this month, inshallah. And let it be a month filled with mercy and forgiveness and salvation and everything else, inshallah. We ask Allah to bless us in the month of Sha'ban and to allow us to reach the month of Ramadan. And we ask him to make this Ramadan a special gift for all of us and a special opportunity for all of us to come closer to him. Allahumma ameen. Really to focus on that intimacy. If there's any questions or reflections that anyone has, it'd be nice to hear them. It's nice to be able to engage with each other on Jummah. It's a little bit different. It's not a khutbah. It's all of you, mashallah. I know a lot of the families, a lot of the people have really great things that would be beneficial to share with everyone. And alhamdulillah, we're all here together. So it's an opportunity to hear from some of you. So if any of you would like to share something, see Zabijan, Dr. Mitra, and others are here, mashallah. And of course, Dina is here. Let's hear from you, inshallah. you can raise your hand or something, or send me a message, because you won't be able to unmute yourself. It's a security precaution. I make it so that nobody can unmute themselves, just in case like some random stranger pops in or something. They won't be able to talk, you know. Yeah, okay. Alhamdulillah, good. Go ahead, Zavijan.
Assalamu alaikum to everyone. I just want to say Ramadan Kareem, and I really wish everyone a blessed month and full of barakah. And obviously, we're not going to be able to physically see each other, but I'm sure I can speak for everyone that everyone feels that, you know, spiritual closeness, and we will all be thinking about each other. And inshallah, you know, sessions like this during Ramadan, I'm sure we'll have more of them, and we'll be able to kind of engage and make the best of this month. And Ramadan Kareem to everyone.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We're very blessed to have this community. And it's very nice to see you all, even though we're not physically seeing you. And just to really, I really appreciated the highlights of less guilt and more intention of just connection to Allah. And I know it's a tough time with families and children, and I would just like to second that thought of just, you know, we have the kids at home for long periods of hours, and it's our tendency as parents to guilt trip our kids into, you know, we're not doing this or we're not doing that. And I think your khutbah really, or your talk, sets the tone of just like connection to our Creator, and maybe working on that on ourselves so that we can extend it to our families and make this month of Ramadan very just connected as a whole family, and then connected to our Creator. So I really like that flexibility that you were talking about, because sometimes we get lost in all of the to-dos of Ramadan. So wishing you all a blessed month, and inshallah we'll see you guys over Zoom again. Happy Ramadan to everyone.
Thank you. Hakeem, would you like to share anything? We'd love to hear from you. I'll unmute you, just in case you agree.
I think this is definitely a very different Ramadan that, you know, all of us are going to experience, inshallah, coming up. So I think, just like how you mentioned, just trying to you know, do the best we can. I think that's an important, very important thing to think about, because, you know, like you said, Allah is the most merciful, and inshallah Allah will accept whatever goodness we do, no matter what the situation is. So.
All right, thank you for sharing. Medina.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Yeah, it's so good to see the faces that we get to see. So thank you. I'm grateful to those who are brave enough to show themselves in their homes. I think, you know, the thing that I think about is really maintaining that positivity during this time too, and trying to see the bright side in dark circumstances or difficult circumstances. And I think about the different resources, you know, many of which are renewable, right? Like, you know, you might lose money, but inshallah that'll be regained. The one resource that you don't get to regain is time. It's the only resource that once it goes, it goes. And subhanAllah, we've all been gifted with more time in this strange way, you know, even though, you know, yes, under difficult circumstances, but in a way it is a gift to have the time with family. Like I love seeing the dads with their kids, you know, many of our dads work many hours and don't have the time to spend with their children. The fact that they're gifted this time, their kids are gifted with their time too. Moms as well who work and are now home actually also have been gifted additional time with their kids. And I don't know, I think there's a blessing there that I just want to remind everyone with. Thank you.
mastermind. Thank you, Dina. I was saying Nargis is here too. If there's anything you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you. I unmuted you again in case you would
Oh, I'm
agree.
already unmuted. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. What a wonderful opportunity to see you all. And alhamdulillah, another blessing. I think that just this is an example of one of the many silver linings of the situation. And I'm so, happy and honored to be with you guys. Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Jamaal, for this. Many blessings in this. I think, just like Dina said, that one resource that we can't get more of is time. That really hit me. So I do definitely value the time that I have now, even though I personally am home a lot with my kids, but I'm home a lot more with them now. And I'm doing a lot more with them now. So really is a blessing. And alhamdulillah, we thank God for that. And Ramadan Mubarak to you all, inshallah. May Allah accept from all of us. Thank you.
I mean, thank you. Allah keep Dr. Fadi safe and all the other people who are serving. Yeah. There's a couple of comments in the chat box. Can you please clarify that although Allah is kind and merciful, we should not take this for granted and use this to excuse ourselves from reading Quran or praying? Yeah, I mean, we should try to take advantage of the opportunity, but there's a balance there for sure. But even still, Allah is merciful, and I think it's really important that we emphasize that more. We generally do not do so, and if we were to err on any side, then the side to err on is the side of mercy, and that's not like some sort of fabricated weirdo Western concept. That's actually there in the text. That's Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim starting every single chapter other than Surah Tawbah. That's Allah creating all of creation and saying Rahmati sabaqat ghadabi, that my mercy has overcome my wrath, and so on. There's many other cases. You can read Mercy, the Stamp of Creation by Dr. Omar Farooq Abdullah. It's a fantastic read. You can find it online. It's very short, 6-8 pages. Mercy, the Stamp of Creation. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we're still responsible. But, like, if we're to be fully real, I mean, like, we're responsible to use the time of Ramadan as much as we can, and to benefit from it as much as we possibly can. But, other than fasting, the other things we do in Ramadan are recommended things. They're not obligations. And so, like, we always have to keep the mizan of the Sharia in our mind, the balance of the Sharia in our mind. There are things that are obligations. There are things that are recommendations. And that's not to lessen from a recommendation, but it's to recognize that it is a recommendation, So we should be extremely worried if we're taking obligations lightly. We should pay attention to that. And in recommendations too, they're like the fence around the house. They protect our house of obligations, but they are what they are. So may Allah help us to worship Him in a way that comes like from truly like a beautiful place, inshallah. There's another question on, please tell us how to pray Taraweeh at home. Taraweeh at home, there's a lot of variation in Taraweeh. Vast majority of Sunni scholarship, at least we can say, has held that Taraweeh should be 20 rak'ah. There's other opinions that say it can be pretty much 8 and anywhere in between, even more. Like the Maliki school oftentimes said that Taraweeh should be 36 rak'ah to make it easier on the people because it makes the rak'ah shorter. They thought that was easier. I don't know if you would agree, but nonetheless, the point is you have a variation between 8 all the way up to like 40. I don't think for like a regular average person who's just trying to live their life and worship God that they should really get so caught up in this kind of issue. I think that they should just, Taraweeh is really anything that they're praying after their 2 rak'ah of Isha all the way up until Witr. So any night prayer that they're praying is a night prayer in Ramadan. Taraweeh is basically night prayer in Ramadan. So whatever night prayer in Ramadan you can do. You do them in sets of 2. It's called tarweeh because of the tarweeha after every 4. So usually we pray 2, then we pray 2, and after those 4 we take a break, which is the tarweeha, it's the break. So it's called tarweeh because it's a set of prayer that has a number of breaks in it. So that's also part of the, like, one of the evidences they used to say that it's 20 is a stronger opinion, because if you do 8, you only have 2 breaks. So you don't have tarweeh, you have tarweehatan. But and so it's a prayer that has breaks in it. Pray it, as many as you like. Again, you can pray in congregation in your home. You can, according to many of the opinions, you can hold the mushaf during prayer and read. So just, and it doesn't have to be that you finish the entirety of the Quran in the prayer. These are things that are great to do. Like, it's great to pray 20. It's great to finish the entirety of the Quran in the prayer itself throughout the month. That's fine and wonderful. If you can do it, alhamdulillah, do it. If you can't do it, again, don't guilt trip yourself about it. Just pray what you can. Like, if you got up every day and prayed 8 rak'ah and each rak'ah was the last, whatever, like surah al-duha to the end of the Quran every single night in Ramadan, that would be a great thing. And that would be a wonderful thing. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. And it's probably going to take you like 20 minutes to pray Taraweeh if you're praying 8 rak'ah and you're using Surah al-Duha to the end. If you feel tired, if you feel like you can do more, right? Like, it's a month of mercy. It's a month of gifts. It's a month of great opportunity. And each person can take from it whatever they like, and according to their intention also, Don't assume just because someone prayed 20 rak'ah every night that they have more than someone who prayed 4, or someone who prayed 2, or someone who wasn't able to do it at all. We cannot make assumptions in that realm, because the intention is the key, and God gives what he gives according to his knowledge of each individual person and what's going on with them. So again, pray two at a time, and you can do that in congregation at home, and you can hold the mushaf if you would like to. And inshallah khair, it's okay. A side point, just by way of academic integrity, just so people know, the schools that allow you to hold the mushaf in the prayer of Taraweeh also allow you to hold the mushaf in the obligatory prayer, by the way. But don't tell the people, they'll lose their minds. But you can find it, it's there right in front of you. If you go to the Dar al-Ifta Nusriya website, Dar al-Ifta in Egypt, the House of Fatwa in Egypt, they have a big website with all kinds of languages, and you can find it in the Arabic section, you find it in the English section. That they don't like you to move the mushaf too much, right? So, but because it's like too much extra movement. But you can, even if you felt like you need to pray Asha and read Surah Yasin and you haven't memorized it, theoretically you can do that. Any other questions anyone has? Any other comments anyone wants to share? Was that a hand raise? Rima's family? No? Okay. It's like a fundraiser over here, Be careful, don't scratch your ear, don't move your hands, because you're going to get called on to share a reminder. All right. Well, it's good to see everyone. May inshallah Allah help us to reach the month of Ramadan and to make the best of it, and to worship Allah in the best way that we possibly can, and to turn towards him with absolute integrity. They say that the spiritual path is sidq at-tawajjuh in Allah, is to have a sincere and true turning to Allah. That's really what this whole thing is about, is to turn sincerely and truly towards Allah. And if we're able to do that, it's likely that we're going to want to do more. But we need to do that first, right? We need to do that first. So may Allah accept from us Ramadan Kareem, to everyone Ramadan Mubarak. And inshallah, we will see you next Friday in the blessed month of Ramadan. Inshallah, we will be in the blessed month of Ramadan next Friday when we meet. So we'll see you then. Assalamu alaikum.